Must not be working. All right. I appreciate everybody's time this afternoon. Welcome to our renewal application ESNAPS tutorial for direct HUD funded partners. I'm going to hand it pretty quickly over here to Howard, but just a couple of housekeeping things. Just like I said, please record or please mute yourself if you are not speaking so that we can clearly hear the directions from Howard. And we will be recording this session. So if you prefer to be off screen, go ahead and do that. We understand sometimes we get a little camera shy. So I will toss it on over to Howard. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope you all have a successful submission in ESNAPS this year.
Yes, happy ESNAPS to all of you as well. I am hoping that I am sharing my screen and you are seeing this front office portal from ESNAPS on your screens. Am I?
Not yet.
No, no. Oh, you know why? Because you have to do another step, I think. Am I doing it now?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah, on Teams you have to do one more thing than you have to do on Zoom, I think. Okay, so hopefully all of you can get past this page. Hopefully everybody has got a username and a password, and when they click login, what happens is that you go into the eSnaps page. Is that the case? Is anybody not be able to get past this point? Okay. You're either being, I hope you are. So then,
Okay, so no.
okay,
So let me slow down just a little.
okay.
First of all, this is the first time that I'm even hearing about this. So I'm looking at your
Okay,
screen, and
okay.
so you're saying eSnaps.
Yeah. So
What does
what?
that acronym stand for?
Well, it is basically an electronic grants management system. It's operated by the Office of Special Needs Assistance Programs. That's where the SNAPS is from.
Okay.
E is because it's electronic online, so that's what eSNAPS is all about. It's sort of the portal that you use to apply to HUD for HUD Continuum of Care funding. It's a pretty easy place to navigate to. It is eSNAPS, ESNAPS .hud.gov. Now, hopefully, I mean, this is a renewal grant, so
Okay.
someone from your organization has got to have done this application in eSNAPS previously.
And I'm
So,
sure they have. But I
and,
really want to be very clear about this because this is like a cross training for me.
uh-huh,
We all need to know what the other person knows.
yeah. So, but what they're going to have to do is if you do not have, because everybody, as you can see, has got to have a username in order to be able to access this system. And what they're going to have to do is they're going to have to link your username when I'm going to show you how to create a profile. But after you do that, they're going to have to link your username to the organization's application window, as it were, application portal
Okay.
in eSNAPS. Each organization has got their own one. I'll show you how that is. But if you go to this esnaps.hud.gov, you'll come to an opportunity, a welcome page like this will give you this opportunity to create a profile. And here, let me see if I can make this a little bigger. And you need very, very little to create a profile. You need a name, you need an email address, and you can pick whatever username you wish, anything. And then a password, and you keep the password to yourself. So you don't have to tell anybody that in this confirmation thing. And then once you've created that, okay, and that's all you need to create that profile. Now I got to exit out of here because it gets confusing. So then let me try and show you what would need to be done. So if you had a username and your password and you were linked to your account, when you hit login like that, you always got to go there, but you would come into a page like this. Someone in your organization is able to do this, and you want to click on this. You see where it says applicants over here? And happens right after, it's the next thing that happens after you say you're accepting those government conditions, right? So you click on this applicants thing. There's going to be this thing right here called registrants. You see that with this little heads of profiles and stuff like that. This is going to be the way that you can be added to your organization's eSNAPS account. And again, it's a renewal. So someone has to, so if you find that there isn't anyone in your organization that has access to your organization's eSNAPS account, then you're going to have to send an email to HUD to get associated with it, but reach out to us and we'll tell you how to do that. I don't want to spend all that time doing this now because I think you can. But if you have that problem, just let us know and we'll tell you what you do as the next step. But if they can get you in and they get to this page, they click on this registrants here. And now I'm clicking in as if IHCDA was the applicant here. And so all you would do is then you click on that. You see this little weird orange and red paperclip there. You just click on that. You just add the username that you created and the email address that was associated with it. They click on the ad registrant. You'll be associated with that organization's eSNAPS account and you'll be good to go in this system that you probably just as happy to have never been in. But
Thank you.
such is the world of these. Oh, I know this thing is not going to be happy with me because I'm not entering this data that it wants. Okay, good. Let me do it. Okay. Now, the other thing, and this is for everybody, once you are starting in eSNAPS, you want to always start by clicking on this applicants one in this left-hand, this is the left-hand menu thing. It goes applicants, funding opportunity registrations, projects, and submissions. Always start out by clicking on applicants. We went through the process if you need to add somebody to your organization. Now, the other thing is then you want to open up the so-called applicant profile, and it is this orange folder here, and you click on that, and you really want to do this once in each competition, you have to go to this submission summary to do anything here. And first you see on the bottom here, it says this e-form has been marked as complete. That's saying you can't edit it. So what you need to do is click on, so another thing I want to show you, see how there's this red X on this HUD form 2880? Whenever there is a red X, it means something needs to be completed. HUD is not accepting it as complete. Everything has got to have a green check mark in it for it to be fine. So you click this edit button, and then you click where there is next to the screen next to where there is this X form. By the way, Dr. Rogers, thank you for nodding. It means that people are hearing what I'm saying. So I appreciate the response. I really do. What everybody's going to do the first time you go into eSNAPS each year is you're going to have to go into this this applicant, this form 2880, and you're just going to have to hit save. It means you've reviewed it and refreshed it. It's really it's just a HUD bureaucraties thing too, but you have to click at least save on that. And then you can go back. Oh, the other thing you want to do, very important, is while you're in there, check the authorized representative and check the alternate contact. Make sure those people are still the appropriate people. Make sure the email address, the phone number is correct. If there's ever a problem with your application, HUD is going to contact those contact people, and if they're wrong, also, when if HUD contacts you, they're going to do so with a very, very limited period of time in which you must respond to them. They're sweet that way. So you don't want the email to go nowhere, in which case they'll say, we told you, you didn't respond, you didn't get the money. Sorry. HUD likes to do things like that. So make sure they contacts are correct. Then you go back to the submission summary after we've, whoops, hold on. What does it want from me? Here, let me hmm. You know what I'm going to do? Hold on. Sometimes. Ah, I'll figure it out later. I don't know why in the world it's. Oh. Ah, sorry, folks. So that's what it does. You have to go back a couple of times. You see what it's looking for, clear that X mark, and then it'll allow you to say complete. You want to be able to say complete there. Okay, so there's, you see the fun of this system a little. Okay, after you've done that, you go to this next tab down, which is funding opportunity registrations. This is very simple. What you want to do is you want to register for this renewal project application FY 2023. And all you need to do is click on that box there. Actually, IHCD is already, if you had, they've already registered for it. If you hadn't already registered, you would get a message saying, do you wish to register for this funding opportunity? You say yes, and then you're at this stage.
Hey,
Then the
Howard,
next,
we have a
yeah,
question in the chat.
oh, great.
Do we have to have, does the code of conduct on that applicant's page also need to be reviewed and updated every year? Is there a checkbox or anything in there that needs to be saved?
No, the code of conduct is something that's supposed to be on file with HUD. Indeed, if you Google your code of conduct at HUD, it'll take you to the place. HUD actually has a list of all the organizations that have codes of conduct on file with them. Go check that list, make sure your organization is listed on it. If it's not, contact us. We'll tell you there are some other steps you need to follow to do it. It's not a big deal. You just have to document on your letterhead that you have to upload to HUD. Okay. Next step, we've done the funding opportunity registration. Now what we want to do is name our renewal project and import the data from our prior year's application. So what we want to do is first filter here. This is the important step. Filter to renewal project application FY 2023. And we want to, now I've already done this step, but here's what you do. You click on this plus arrow, because remember when you get to the, I'm sorry, let me see if I can go back. Again, you want to make sure you filter for renewal project application FY 2023. When you get there, there'll be nothing in this line where it says sample IN renewal. It'll be the first time you do this, that'll be blank. In order to get anything under that line, you have to hit this plus key right there. It will give you the opportunity, and you must name the project. And again, I think our convention is that you use the same name that you used last year, but you say renewal FY 2023 at the end of your project name. So we'll be able to identify what the project is. Then once you name it, the next step is extremely important. You want to click on this import data from, and you want to select from this drop-down menu what is going to be your project FY 2022 renewal application. It will drop, this is the IHCDA one, so it's a ton of projects there. Yours is going to be much simpler. Put a name on it, import data from. If you have only one project, that will be the only choice that you have. If you have 2 projects or 3 projects, you'll be able to choose among those projects, but you'll be able to import that data from them. Only after you identify that should you hit save. If you hit save before you import the data from it, you're not going to be able to import the data from it. However, if that happens, all is not lost. All you do is go back to this project screen, filter for the project that you just named, change the name of that project. You can always change the name of that project on this project screen. Change that name of that project to do not use. Then rename your project what you want to name it, and you can import the data from it all over again. And you just will forever have this do not use thing on your project list, but that's the only consequence that you'll have. Okay, once you have named your project, you then click on this submissions tab, the last one down. Always you're going down this menu list. Here, the biggest challenge for me is to remember what I just named the project in the prior step, because this is where you've got to filter through this whole long list of projects, especially for these guys, to find. What did I call it? Did I call it sample? Did I call it Indiana? What did I call it? I have no idea. Sample IN renewal. Yay! Then you hit the filter. So you really need, so that's the step here. You, in that under applicant project name, you identify the project that you just named, hit filter, and then this orange folder will pop up in front of you. Click on that orange folder, and you're close to being into the COC application. Okay, so I want you to know that this one's gone a little further. When you first go into the application, it's only going to open up as far as about this. You're not going to see all this other stuff that's on this left-hand menu thing. You're going to have to first navigate through these initial screens before you see the rest of the menu. So I'll walk you through those screens. So much of this is so silly. I mean, any kind of a modern computer thing would just put all of these things on one form and you check one thing, but HUD doesn't work this way. They act as if it's still on paper, and every one of these computer screens is another paper document. It's cute. So this basically all you do on this first screen is first note that for at least a dozen years, HUD has never fixed this misspelling. The word confirm is actually confirm, and you need to click this. Just click that little box there. That's the thing that you're going to have to do it. But before you do it, make sure you see how it's asking about the federal award identifier. You want to make sure that that is indeed your project identification number. Okay, and then if it's the same one, just hit save and next. This one, there's nothing you can do. You just see this information. This populates from the applicant profile. If this information is incorrect, you can't fix it here. You've got to go back into the applicant profile. Hopefully you get out of it quicker than I did. But go back into the contact person. This is pulling the alternate contact. Don't ask me why it pulls the alternate contact. It pulls the alternate contact. It's what it does. Okay, nothing. You can't do anything on this thing. So this should pull this information from your prior application. If not, sometimes you need to complete the congressional districts. Indeed, it'll open up. It should just identify the Indiana congressional districts and just give you those opportunity to do that. This is where you want to do something, the start and end date. When you get it, it's going to show the start date from your renewal grant. So this is going to, when you first open this, it's going to say it ends in 2023 and it starts in 2023 rather than ends in 2024. So you want to, in all cases, when you import the data, make sure you update the start and end date. Yes, Jennifer. Jen.
Howard, it's me. All right, so I'm in here right now trying
Yes.
diligently to do all the things, and it's not letting me edit that section of start dates. Did I do something wrong?
If you just click on it, will it show a calendar?
Nope. It's grayed out. Like it's like one of those, this E-form has been submitted.
Oh,
so then,
okay. Well, then it can't have been submitted.
No, you're right. No, I'm looking at 8/16/22. Never mind. Hold on. I got it back around. Hold on.
Okay. Not a problem. While you're doing here, so again, you should be able to make those changes in the proposed project start and end date, but that's all you need to do on that form. This one, it should already come completed like this. If it isn't, what you always want to select is this B. It's subject to EO 12372, but has not been selected for the state for review. Whatever. But that's all you need to select on this, and you'll be fine. And that's all you need. This one, you're going to have to click this I agree in the middle here. This one, you click the I agree down here towards the bottom. Keeps you on your toes. You never know where they're going to put that little box. Here it is. It's in the middle. Click it there in the middle and you can go. You have to click these things. I mean, if you don't click it, you don't get the funding. So, okay. All right. There it is. Click that box there. Here, actually, you get two choices here. First, this one is going to give you the opportunity to say yes or no, whether you engaged in lobbying in connection with the COC program. The answer is generally no. I don't know why you would. And then after you say no, to make sure that you really weren't just saying it, you have to click this box certifying that it is true that you said no. And then you click save and next. And this is having to do with construction projects or whatever. It's non-construct, whatever. You have to comply with these things. Check this box at the end, save and next. Again, when you sign up for Google, they do this all. It's just terms and conditions. You scroll through. Yes. HUD gives you 16 screens. Okay, submission without changes. This is important. First off, if this is a question you have to answer at the top, and some grants are being reduced as a result of reallocation. If that is the case, that's very important. You've got to say yes in this box here. When you say yes to that, it really kind of allows you to make lots of changes in this application that you would not otherwise be able to make in a renewal application. But since your grant is being reduced, HUD understands that you're going to be making some other reductions as part of this process. So if you are reduced by reallocation, very important to say yes to that box. Then for the most part, you're really not going to have to make changes in your application. If you do, you have to go through the submission without changes screen and click on the box where you want to make changes. Sometimes folks want to update their project description because either something has changed in the nature of how it is their project operates. You don't have to make changes to any of these screens other than the ones that are automatically checked in this box, unless of course you were reduced by reallocation, in which case you're going to want to make changes to make it work for you. And then you just have to answer these questions. Did you submit your APR on time? We hope that you did. Any unresolved HUD monitoring or Office of Inspector General audit findings? Did you draw down funds quarterly? Remember, you're required to draw down funds quarterly. I'm going to stop. I see there are questions and things.
It's me, Howard. Can you
Mhm.
remind me, if you are making a change to your grant and you select those buttons, you do need to fill in that narrative box right
Yes.
there at the
Oh,
bottom about
great.
what you're
Eh,
doing, why, right? If you don't do
Thank
that, it'll say you didn't do the form right.
Excellent. 100% correct. Yes, 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 yes. That is a guaranteed error message. It's got this box down here. As you can see, this form contains mandatory fields for which this formula, no value has been saved. So that tells you that you're going to have an X on it. So you just need to put something into this thing. HUD suggests just putting a bullet thing. I mean, do not make a big narrative here. Just describe the changes that you made. Always, since it's always going to ask you to do something, at the minimum, you want to say you updated your match information. Okay. So here we are. And then if any HUD grant funds are unspent, so if you did not spend 100% of your grant funds, you have to say yes, and you've got to provide an explanation as to what was unspent and why. And that's why this says there are fields for which no value has been saved. If I said no here, that would go away. Um, so if by any chance, I don't think, do we have an expansion as a new project application?
There are some new projects that are talking about expanding. I don't know if any of them are our direct HUD
Okay.
partners or not. So
Okay, so you folks, you probably will know if you're thinking about a new project application expanding an existing renewal grant, then you would say yes in this screen. Otherwise, overwhelmingly, folks will say no to this screen and go on to the next screen.
I do think we have several who were thinking about consolidating. So they would
Oh,
then need to hit yes here, right?
yeah, yes, absolutely. Sorry, yes. So, um,
And if
so
Howard does that, sorry, consolidation means you're taking two grants and making them one. So if you only have one grant, you're not going to consolidate anything, just to clarify.
that's right. And now, of course, they're going to ask you this question, as you can see, is this renewal application the surviving or terminating grant? Obviously, you're saying, I don't know. So the answer to that is it really has to do with the contract end date or the contract start date. Whichever contract starts earlier in the year is supposed to be the surviving grant. HUD has this contingency. If they both start at the same exact date, make the larger of the two the surviving grant. But if if one starts earlier in the year, that is the one that's supposed to be the surviving grant. You need to do that because otherwise you'll lose the funds between when that one ends and the other one picks up. So the funding has got to start up as soon as the earliest terminating grant is going to terminate. So if it is the surviving grant, let's show this. There's a certain amount of information that you have to do. Then you have to list all the other grants that are, and you've got to give that PIN number. Remember, those are the first 6 digits of your grant number. It's always going to start with IN, and then there are going to be 4 digits after that. That'll be your, as this is IN 0155. Then just give that number then, and then take it off the application, whatever the prior operating start and expiration dates were, and that'll confirm to HUD, which one should be the surviving and which one should be the expiring one. If it is the terminating grant, then all you are going to do is enter in the PIN number of the grant that is the surviving PIN and whatever its project name is, and then you will have completed that. And that's really all you need to do for the consolidation thing, is enter into that data on this screen here. And as HUD says, if both of them are ranked and both of them are selected for HUD by HUD for funding, they will automatically be combined into a single grant at the at when the HUD executes the grant next year. Okay, so this is where it's your opportunity, if you have project subrecipients on the grant, to identify them as part of this thing. This is saying, I obviously imported data from an IHCDA project just to import data from, so that's why it's showing these. And then you can always, view and edit this information. Okay. So this one should just populate with your information. There should not be anything you're doing on this screen. There shouldn't be any changes on this form at all. You really should just import from your prior year's grant. If ever, and I think it was, the 3A was checked on the submission without changes screen, you just have to hit save. Even if you haven't done anything, you always have to hit save, or else it's not going to allow you to submit. Again, probably always useful to review the project description to make sure it is still accurately describing the project. But other than that, for the most part, these on the renewal application, these screens will all be finished, be complete, unless you select submission without changes and open these things up. You should just go forward with these as they are. Again, you can, by the way, if you've got permanent supportive housing, one thing that you can do as part of the renewal process is you can go from 100% dedicated to dedicated plus. How HUD allows you to make that change if you wish to do it. However, though, they do say that if your project is only serving single adults, it must be 100% chronically homeless dedicated. You can only select the dedicated plus option if you're serving families. You can serve singles and families, but you must have some families in your project. Again, this would pre-populate from what you said in the prior year. Generally, you don't need to do anything, but just review it, make sure that it's fine. And again, remember, HUD is pretty clear about this. They don't want you to make changes on the unit counts. They don't really want you to make changes on the FMR areas either, even if those have changed, because it's going to throw off the annual renewal demand, and they do not want that to happen. So even if what you're going to see as your, you certainly want to be serving the number of units that you're talking about, but in terms of, especially on the when you get to the rental assistance budgets, you don't really want to, and you're not supposed to change the total participants that you are serving. So here, these total numbers should not change in a renewal project, again, unless it was reduced by reallocation. Under those circumstances, you can change those numbers. You can change this. You could. HUD this year would allow you to change the program subpopulations on the screen 5B, but you don't need to. Remember, the only consistency you want to be careful about on the subpopulations chart is if you have shown earlier that you've got a certain number of dedicated chronically homeless beds, you want to make sure that you're showing that number of chronically homeless people on this chart. So it is actually, let me go back to that one. It is going to be 4B. It's going to talk about dedicated chronically homeless beds. You see this one, we had 31. If you have an entry like that on your screen, then you're really going to want to make sure on subpopulations that you're showing 30 chronically homeless folks, which is exactly what we're showing here. So we have that consistency. That is one of the things that will generate an error for you. Okay, there is this new opportunity. So even if it's a renewal project, this is the new funding opportunity around VAWA funding. And what you can do is there are the two sets of eligible, brand new eligible COC activities around VAWA emergency transfer facilitation or VAWA confidentiality requirements. Quite a bit of detail as to what those funds can be spent on. This is new this year. In a renewal application, you can request funds for these VAWA activities. However, you cannot ask HUD for $1 more than what is already in your contract. So to do this, you would have to take funds from an existing budget line and put them into one of these VAWA lines. If you do that, remember, you cannot take more than 10% away from a budget line. So whatever the size of that budget, say it's a $60,000 budget line, you can't remove more than $6,000 from that budget line, but you can move $6,000 from that budget line. Remember, of course, though, you've got to reduce the sending budget line by that 6,000. Rachel, I think you've got a question.
Yeah, Howard, in that process, would there be any concern you'd have about somebody reducing the rental assistance line of their budget to add
Yeah,
this? It sounds like it might get really
yeah,
complicated with those
yeah,
other screens you mentioned if somebody
yeah,
did that because
yeah.
they'd be moving from FMR to actual rents.
Yep. If you're going to do this, I would really, I take it from another budget line, either out of the services budget line, you can take it out of the admin budget line. Um, but I agree with Rachel. I would be very wary about taking it to either the leasing or the rental assistance budget line. If you've got an operations budget line and you have excess funds. Yes, Angela.
Hi, this is Angie from Region 5. So I have a question about the supportive service line item in the budget.
Uh-huh.
For our grant, that includes case management and life skills. So at this time in the ESNAPS renewal, like if we wanted to make that all for case management and take out the life skills, can we do that?
So what's going to happen on a renewal project is, shoot, it's not open on this thing, because I imported foolishly I imported a grant that didn't have it. But because you can see down here on the budget thing that supportive services screen is not open there. But what it'll happen on a renewal application is basically you just it's a single number. It's the new project application asks you to detail case management, life skills, all those kinds of things. On renewal project applications for supportive services, it's just the bottom line number for supportive services. So it's completely fine making those changes within that budget line between life skills and case management. That is completely fine.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, let's go back to that. That so excuse me. So those are the VAWA activities. And basically, if you want to do it, you're going to answer yes to this question. If this is for the emergency transfer, or I'm sorry, that's for the confidentiality. This one would be for the emergency transfer. And you'll see all that it's going to do is ask you to, when we get to the summary budget, you're just going to plug in a number on that line. But again, you're going to have to take that number from one of your other budget lines in order to have the money. If you are using the indirect costs, this is where you would this is where you would indicate that you want to claim the indirect cost rate. If you're choosing the 10% de minimis, says this will use the 10% de minimis. You can put NA on cognizant agency because there isn't one when you're using the 10% de minimis. Your rate, of course, is going to be the 10% here. You should look at that HUD indirect cost toolkit. We've talked about it on other occasions. It will tell you how you calculate your modified total direct cost, which is your indirect cost base. Okay, renewal grants are going to be 1 year. Oh, wait. Hold on. I think, let's see if I was able to open up the supportive services budget. No. Okay, and so these are the rental assistance things. Again, for the most part, you really want, because this is going to be based on jurisdiction and unit distribution, you don't really want to change the fair market rent areas, and you really don't want to change the unit distribution on these things. Again, if it ever becomes necessary to make those changes, HUD says you really got to do that through a grant amendment. You really can't do this through the grant renewal process. You are going to each year have to update your match and you're going to have to identify the sources of the match for it. So that is going to be a requirement each year. So make sure you update that. If it is in kind and you've got a MOU supporting that and you can attach it, that's great. If not, HUD will ask for the match documentation prior to executing the grant. Then you're going to come to the summary budget. As I said, this is where, when it comes to VAWA, all you do is enter in a number here. Same thing with admin. The admin number never pre-populates in these renewal applications. You've got to go look at last year's grant, look at the grant inventory worksheet to make sure you pick up the right admin number. If you leave this number blank, well, we won't let it happen. But if you were to leave this number blank and were to go all the way to HUD, HUD would say, okay, I guess they decided they didn't want admin funding this year. They would not think, oh, maybe they made a mistake. We'll let them correct it. No, they would just take that funding away from you. So make sure that you populate that admin line. And also, if you're using, now see this one, excuse me, we would have to take, and we wanted to spend VAWA dollars, we could only really take it out of the admin budget line in order to do it, because the only other budget line here is going to be the rental assistance budget line.
Hey, Howard, quick question on that
Mhm.
GIW. If we're going to give folks guidance on what GIW to look at, should I be looking at the 2023 GIW or should I be looking at the 2022 GIW to make sure that my admin amounts and all of that match?
The 2023, the
Okay, I just
current
wanted to
one,
make sure. I was
the
just going to
current
put the
one.
link. I thought that it
Yeah,
would be 2023, but I got anxious that I was about to
yeah.
send the wrong link. So I will
Oh,
put that in the chat so people can review it if they don't remember it or can't remember
yep.
what the
And
amount was.
remember, on with folks who've got rental assistance, we are using, for the purposes of this application only, the FY 2022 FMR limits. Even though FY 2023 is very close to ending. But you will be funded, and HUD says you will be funded at the FY 2023 FM. You are funded based on the FMRs that are in effect and the application submission date. So the application submission date is within 2 days of the end of the fiscal year. So you end up getting, and that's why it's within 2 days of the end of the fiscal year. So you're going to be funded with the FY 2023 fair market rents, not the FY 2024 fair market rents. The attachments, again, the only, you should, if you've got subrecipients, you want to make sure that you've attached their nonprofit documentation to these project applications. If you have a negotiated indirect cost rate agreement and you're claiming indirect costs, you must attach that negotiated rate agreement. If you're claiming the 10% de minimis, there's nothing to attach. And if you have any match documentation letters, please attach them. However, as I indicated, the FMRs will increase when the time the grant is awarded. So you're going to document the match based on FY22 grant award FMRs. That means that when you are awarded, HUD is going to ask for an updated match letter because your match requirements will have gone up if and when the FMRs go up. Was that a question, Rachel? Okay. And then obviously you've got to do the certification thing to complete the application. And then, which is not going to be the case, so we've got a few things that are not done, but almost everything is completed here. You just go back to any of these things where there remains an X mark, and this now grayed out submit button will no longer be grayed out when everything is a check mark. It'll be live and you will be able to click it. Now let me, before anybody gets really nervous, when you click that submit button, this is not going to HUD. The way this system is set up, this application then will go to IHCDA as the collaborative applicant, and then those of us on the IHCDA side will be able to access the application, we'll be able to review it, and if there are any issues or problems with that, we'll be able to identify them and we'll be able to tell you that there are. We then send the application back to you for editing. And what you must do then is make whatever the changes are, and then you're going to have to hit the submit button again for the application to come back to us. It's really important. I mean, until we get that application submitted back to IHCDA, we can't submit it onto HUD. And if the deadline to HUD gets closer, we start getting very nervous about that. So please, get those things submitted as quickly as you can. Or if you have problems, you can't get this submit button to not be grayed out the way it is now, and you're going crazy. Reach out for help, and we'll. I'm sure we can help you figure out how to get going, because it is a very idiosyncratic system, as I think I've been showing you a little, and you'll become. I hate to say, more familiar with it with time, and it'll probably make more sense as you use it more. And it's always challenging because people use it once a year, and it's easy to forget from time to time. Oh yes. So what are the deadlines? Yes, excellent question.
So we're asking you all to spend the next month getting this into us. No later than September 11th is when we need this submitted. Absolutely no later, because as Howard said, we do go in and review these to make sure there are no errors. We don't want to put anyone's funding at risk. So we are here in our seat today at IHCDA as the collaborative applicant for this funding. You guys are not in a contractual relationship with us, so we're here to make sure that your grant is successfully submitted on behalf of the continuum of care. And so because of the way this relationship works, your direct relationship with HUD, we can't see any of these materials that Howard just went through until you hit that submit button. And so we do want to make sure that's right. We do want to make sure it's correct, but it's vitally important that we get it early enough that we can do that. Because if we're going back and forth and it's the 27th, nobody has good feelings about that, because this HUD wants to see this in their hands on the 28th, and we'd like to submit early. So giving us at least a week or two to make sure we get through everybody, because there's 72 of you all between our renewals and our COC direct HUD funded and our subrecipient projects. So there's a lot to get through, and we want to make sure they're right.
I mean, the good news is each one of these applications should only take a couple of hours, really at the most, to work through. It shouldn't be a big workload. I mean, if you find that it's taking a lot more than that, I mean, again, reach out for help, because you may have had some challenges with the process. I alluded to this before. I want to apologize. I mean, HUD does have these resource guides. They're supposed to walk you through these eSNAP screens, but for whatever reason, they have not seen fit to release them yet. Be aware there is a HUD COC competitions page. Everybody knows how to find that, and I'm sure we'll also send an email, if they ever come around to releasing these other materials that they're saying are coming soon. We'll let you know that they're available, and what the link is to them.
Been throwing some things in chat for those of you who have access to chat, but we'll also, as Howard said, be sending out an email. A couple of things we noticed last year, if you're not correctly updating your match information, if you are editing pages but then not fully completing them in some way. So maybe they're letting you submit, but you've accidentally deleted a whole paragraph of your narrative and it cuts off the middle of a sentence. We notice all that when we're going through and looking at these things, because we really do check to make sure the information is complete. Please also, as Howard was referencing, make sure those contacts in that applicant section are correct, because we also will obviously use that as a direction to us on who we should contact if there's a problem with that application. As I was saying before, we can't see any of this until you hit submit. So if you do have a problem, we're happy to, our team or Howard, we can connect you to how to resolve these issues. We can get on a call like this and screen share and figure out what's going on. But as you saw, creating that login and everything, that's tied to your organization. And since you get that money directly, IHCDA can't see any of that. If you are both a direct HUD and an IHCDA subrecipient, we will work with you on your subrecipient application, and we'll manage that process on our end. We're about to kick that off next week. So you don't need to worry about anything on that end as far as taking these steps with that application. This is just the steps we need you to take for your direct HUD project, and we will do the steps and work with you on those steps for your contract with IHCDA. Hey, Jen, what's up?
Hey, thanks, friends. Sorry. So I'm looking, I've now got it in the right place. Yeah. It's like it's my first day with eSNAPS. I don't know what's happening, but I have noticed that when I finally get to the submission without changes section, and this could have been said while I was actively trying to find my portal, it's grayed out to not give me that opportunity to submit without changes. Do we know why that could be? Because I've looked at 2 of my 3 renewals, and they both have been submitted without changes last year. So we've already done it before. So I just thought that was interesting.
So it's hard for me to visualize what's happening on your screen. What can we do? We could, I don't know if you want to share in our group here. What do we,
Yeah, Jen, do you want to hang on at the end of the meeting? We can take a look.
That'd be
Happy
great
to-
if you don't
yeah.
mind, or we can set up another call. I don't want to, I
okay.
don't want to take time, but I just thought
Yeah,
that was awkward because
No
they have
worries.
done it before. I don't
Yeah,
know.
yeah, no, I agree. I agree.
it's just that on the one that's great now that we can look at each other's screens. There was not that many years ago when it was like I tried to it was on the mind's eye that we could look at, and it was hard. So we'll happy to do that.
Any other questions? Okay. Well, I'll just give a kind of a final overview of what our next steps are. So please get in here, take a look at your renewal. Make sure as you're setting that renewal up for next year, you do put that FY 2023 in there so we know which one to grab. Because another part of this process is we start grabbing them to rank them. And that's what we do in our role as collaborative applicant is get them in that ranking by using the properly named project. And last thing I want to do is put in your 2020 project or 2021 project and say you're 23. If we don't have that name correctly, we might get confused. The other thing you're going to want to pay attention to is, all of those screens Howard was showing you, in particular the match. If you are selecting anything to make an adjustment to your budget, that you are being cognizant that you can't increase that amount. Make sure you check that GIW for your admin amount that you're looking to make sure you don't exceed your current award amount. You are able to make those changes to the dedicated plus if it is allowable for your project. So again, be cognizant of that. If you are only serving those single adults, that you do need to have that dedicated project. But if you've got families in the mix, you could maybe make that adjustment if it makes sense for your project and your region. As far as timeline goes, please get this completed by September 11th. We'll start seeing them as you start making them over there, and report back to you if we have any questions or concerns. If you don't hear anything, that's a good thing. We're not necessarily going to follow up with every single person we review. If things are fine, then that's what we want to see. And then we will be looking to have, like I said, have this submitted in advance of the 28th so that we're not backing up against a deadline and Lord knows the website crashes and we can't get in or something like that happens. But the COC board will be voting on the ranking of projects at the end of the month. We are set to release the scores for those of you who are we have a renewal completed for. We have a couple of folks who have errors on their application still. So if you've received an online notice from us that there's an error in your application, please go into that Salesforce grants management system, that IHCDA grants platform. Take a look that your renewal is not sitting there with corrections being requested. An email should have been sent directly to the person who submitted that application that there was an error. So we are working through those errors as we get those submissions back. There was a period of time where submission had accidentally been turned off. So if you had tried to resubmit back to us and it didn't work, please go back in and try and resubmit again. We just fixed that bug yesterday, and I don't know exactly when that clicked on. The application will be submitted, like I said, in advance of the 27th, 28th, as late as we can go. And we anticipate that we'll hear about funding then, hopefully by the end of the year, but certainly by the end of the first quarter of 2024. We know they kept us all waiting. I did put in that reminder in the chat that you can always reach out to the community services inbox, and we are kind of tag teaming TA needs through that inbox. But I am also happy to report that we are now fully staffed at IHCDA grants team. Our new person just started on Monday. You guys will meet her soon. Her name's Jo Rita. She's great. And so we're really excited to be able to provide more support to folks in the next couple of months as we get fully staffed and trained up on this process. If anybody has questions and is applying for a new project, I'll hang on for a couple of minutes as well. I'm happy to answer any questions for anybody who has questions, whether it's about their renewal or a new project application. And best of luck to you in ESNAPS. I'm going to go ahead and turn the recording off.